Hi, I'm Rev Myron. I'm a minister with Pathways of Light, and I've been a Course in Miracles student for 40 years. I'm going through the lessons this year, asking Jesus to clarify for me, and then I'm writing from that clarity, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. So let's get started. We're looking at our next special theme. I'm always excited about that. So what is this one? Number 11, what is creation? Creation is the sum of all God's thoughts, in number infinite and everywhere without all limit. Only love creates, and only like itself. There was no time when all that it created was not there, nor there will be a time when anything that it created suffers any loss. Forever and forever are God's thoughts exactly as they were and as they are, unchanged through time and after time is done. Well, this is saying that creation is and always was and always will be. This is very hard for those of us steeped in the idea of time to understand, particularly the idea of always was seems not to have any meaning. For us, time dictates a beginning, and yet there is no beginning, as there is no end for what is real. While we move through the idea of time with all its changes, the truth remains unchanged. While this is not understandable to me, it does ring true. It is like a truth I have always known but can't remember. It's being slowly and gently revealed. We are, as we always have been, through time and after time is done. That means we remain as we were created, even now in time. Therefore, everything that is not love does not exist. And so this idea in our mind that we think of as our life in time and space is only our imagination. It's not real. So we are safe. We're fine. We're having a long dream. So paragraph 2, God's thoughts are given all the power that their own creator has, for he would add to love by its extension. Thus, his son shares in creation and must therefore share in power to create. What God has willed to be forever one will still be one when time is over and will not be changed throughout the course of time, remaining as it was before and through the thought before the thought of time began. We are God's thoughts, and as such, we are given all the power that our Creator has. That is to say, we have the power to create. We seem to be moving through time, but what we are is not changed over the course of time. In other words, no matter what seems to happen in time, nothing happens to us. We remain as we were created. In the same vein, Jesus tells us this in chapter 3 of the text. Much has been seen since then, but nothing has really happened. Yourself is still in peace, even though your mind is in conflict. And if you would like to read a little more on those ideas, on my website, this video is written out, and there's a link you can click on to read a little more. When Jesus refers to God's Son, he is referring to us as we exist. That is, all of us as one. As God's Son, we share in creation as creators with God. As Jesus says, I have already said that only the whole sonship is worthy to be co-creator with God, because only the whole sonship can create like him. And that's in chapter 7, section 11. And it is the agreement of their thoughts that makes the Son a co-creator with the mind whose thought created him. And that's in chapter 25, section 7. We remain as one because that is how we were created. We will not be changed by time or anything that happens in time. But what about now within our dream? Are we still creators? Well, yes, we are, but our power is limited because our beliefs limit us. There is no actual change, only a temporary change in the imagination. Still, we have enormous power, limited as it is. Our thoughts make form and they influence form. Science proves it. And the Course reminds us often of the power of decision. But no matter what we make here, it is not creation in its truest sense. And thus it is not eternal and so not real, regardless of how real it might seem. Paragraph 3. Creation is the opposite of illusions, for creation is the truth. Creation is the Holy Son of God, for in creation is his will complete in every aspect, making every part container of the whole. Its oneness is forever guaranteed inviolate, forever held within his holy will, beyond all possibility of harm, of separation, imperfection, and any spot upon its sinlessness. We are creation, and as such, we are the will of God, and we are whole. This reminds me of the idea of a holographic universe that Bohm and other scientists have postulated. In essence, they say that all parts contain the whole, and this is what Jesus is saying as well when he says that every part is container of the whole. Jesus says that this oneness is forever guaranteed and inviolate, being held in his holy will. It is why we are perfect and sinless in spite of appearances. Our oneness is guaranteed. Our perfection is guaranteed. We can dream for eons about sin, but we cannot be touched by that sin. Dreams do not change the dreamer. Also of interest, Bohm postulated that his body was a microcosm of the macrocosm. Additionally, he believed that the universe was a mystical place where past, present, and future coexisted. If you'd like to read more about this brilliant scientist, here is the link to something that I enjoyed. And again, you will find that link on my website if you're interested in this lesson. So paragraph 4, we are creation, we the sons of God. We seem to be discreet and unaware of our eternal unity with him. Yet back of all our doubts, past all our fears, there is still certainty. For love remains with all its thoughts, its sureness being theirs. God's memory is in our holy minds, which know their oneness and their unity with their Creator. Let our function be only to let this memory return, only to let God's will be done on earth, only to be restored to sanity and to be as God created us. Paragraph 5, our Father calls to us. We hear his voice and we forgive creation in the name of its creator, holiness itself, whose holiness his own creation shares, whose holiness is still a part of us. Well, I just love paragraph 4. It's self-explanatory, but I will just say that this is what we are and this is our purpose. What we are is unassailable, and we don't need to do anything to restore what has not changed. Instead, let us do what we must to remember God, to remember ourselves. I practice watching my thoughts and releasing those that are not true. I do this so that I can remember our wholeness, our oneness with each other and God. As a consequence, I never doubt anymore. My mind is clear enough now to be aware of the voice for God and to believe in it. Though I don't yet remember myself, I absolutely know I am not this body self, and I am aware of God's sureness. And I'm going to share a little bit from Regina's tips. And just for someone who's not been keeping up this year, Regina Dawn Akers is a scribe for the Holy Spirit's interpretation of the New Testament, which I highly recommend. And Regina's been awake now for quite a number of years, and she has she's a beautiful teacher. Not everything that Regina teaches even in this section, which she's teaching from the lessons, but even so, she doesn't use always the words that the Course uses. And she sometimes goes past what the Course is talking about, because, the Course is given to us so that we will reach that first shift, but it's not meant to go past that. And Regina has gone past it. Nevertheless, what the words that she does share and what's given to her can be very helpful. So, I shared them here. They were helpful to me. And you may find them helpful to you. So Regina does an excellent job of mapping the levels we achieve as we climb the ladder of awakening. She also does an excellent job of relating the Course language to other non-dual languages. A Course in Miracles is a guide for purification of the mind, but it leads to non-dualism, and this can be seen especially in the latter lessons. This section on what is creation is an example of words that point to what Regina calls the first principle of God and is our ultimate goal. In our current special theme, creation and God's thoughts do not refer to consciousness, the world, self, or illusion in any way. Some of the words that point to this fact in the first paragraph of our special theme are infinite, everywhere without limit, love creates and only like itself, no time when all that it created was not there, forever and forever are God's thoughts exactly as they were and as they are, unchanged through time and after time is done. All this language points to the first principle of God only. This is called the absolute or heaven. This lesson is discussed in the Course as when God takes the last step. It does not include the second principle of God, the third principle of God, or the fourth principle of God. She also points out that all other levels we reach are not the final level. She says that when one awakens to those levels, they can be mistaken for the final destination, but they are not. So I'm just going to review briefly the four principles of God with you. And this is just what was given her to help her understand when she was studying. The first principle of God, which is pure, unmanifest life awareness, abstract, unlimited potentiality. It's what A Course in Miracles calls Father and Heaven, also called Nirvana. It is the source and ultimate truth. The second principle of God is consciousness. This is the only direct creation of the source. And A Course in Miracles is called Christ and the Son of God. It is the unaffected, still witness. All things manifest are made of this principle. Therefore, all things are consciousness. Third principle of God, the ongoing activity of creation, which occurs naturally through the interaction of the witnessing principle with that which is witnessed. In gentle healing, we learned about this through the code and NTI Ephesians. I often call it divine law. It is how consciousness forms itself into the many temporary forms that make up the manifest universe. And the fourth principle of God, which is manifestation. Everything in this realm is temporary, and so it is often referred to as a dream. It is consciousness appearing as something other than consciousness, and so it's called illusion. One who believes this is the realm of reality is referred to as unconscious, not awake, or ignorant. When this realm is seen through ignorance, it is fearful and full of suffering. When it's seen through clarity, this realm is miraculous. I'm also putting in a link if you're interested in reading more on Regina's tips on creation. Okay. Past entries. Okay. I wrote I read what I wrote in the past, and I was stunned by the message I received from the Holy Spirit. It is so far from anything that could have come from me at that time. I am newly humbled to have been a channel for his voice when I was still so lost in the story. Said, Holy Spirit, I understand that I'm being told that creation is the extension of God and that it can never change or be changed. I read, we are creation, we the sons of God. I notice a thrill of recognition, but also notice a seed of doubt that quickly grows as I consider it. I ask myself, what is more likely, that I am the Son of God with all the power and creative force of God, or that I'm simply Myron, alone and limited and fragile, and daily coming closer to the end of my pitiful life? The ego thought of separation in my mind makes me want to curl up in the corner and hide from the thoughts of holiness. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn off my phone. And here's what Holy Spirit told me. It said, Holy Son of God, turn your face from the lies of ego. It tells sad and frightening stories to scare the child it dreamed. You are so afraid of opening your heart to your loving Father because you feel as if you swim in a lake of guilt. Guilt so deep and so thick that it will hold you forever bound in its dark and awful depths. These dreams of fear are the source of all the thousands of stories you have lived. Each story tells you that you are unworthy and guilty and doomed. Even your happy stories are often based on someone else's loss. The best story you've ever made is laced with dread that it will soon end. Why would the perfect Son of God live in fear and dread of his own power? Why would he embrace guilt with such fearsome determination? Holy One, put away your toys of self-destruction. Take up instead the hand of your brother and come to me, for your guilt is unfounded, your fear an illusion. Your Father smiles with gentle tenderness at your playful efforts to create outside your own nature. God is your loving Father, not an angry judge. I assure you that you have come to the truth because you recognize the truth. You hear it and you feel the answering call from deep within your holy mind. Do not look at the flimsy excuse for proof of failure and punishment the ego offers. Just pull your eyes from its insane stories and know that only God is true. You can play at being less, but you cannot do anything in your play that will make you less than you were created. Only your thoughts condemn you. God but loves you. We all have resistance, and it is sometimes stronger than other times. But eventually, if we continue to be consistent in our practice, it weakens. In 2016, I was facing resistance, but willing to go. Jesus says to let it go. Jesus says, let our function be only to let this memory return, only to let God's will be done on earth, only to be restored to sanity and to be but as God created us. The word that stood out for me this morning is only. Let this be my only function. I see that I have not done this. Lately, especially, I've allowed the story to distract me from my function. I hear the ego's voice warning me that I have to care about this story, at least some aspects of it. When I think of certain elements of my story and think they're not real and so not a real concern, I want to cry. That is the fear that the story represents. Fear of loss and lack, fear for my special relationships, fear that the truth is not true. This is how the ego keeps the story going, by making the story feel more important than waking up from the story. What I remember this morning is that I came to save the world, not to save the story. Holy Spirit, I know I sound desperate when I ask for your help to remember my purpose. That is only because I feel strongly drawn toward the story, and I scare myself with that feeling. But I do want to live my purpose, and I know that the story is simply a representative fabrication of the beliefs in my mind. I can live the belief that I am a separate body with some real and frightening problems, or I can live the belief that I am of the sons of God and am here to awaken the world. Both are in my mind. Please help me today as I choose to remember my purpose. Thank you so much for joining me in this lesson. And if you found it helpful, then please like it. And if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. And I will be back with the lesson that goes with our special theme.